Sylvia?
When I came in to open up one morning, there you were with your head half in the toilet. Your hair was in the toilet water. Disgusting.
I told you I had the flu.
I said my piece, Chrissy.
Great. I can't even defend myself now?
No one's attacking you, Chris.
The Tainted Love Network presents It's Getting Drafty in Here with Magnificent Stan, a show about nothing.
Well, what's the show about? About nothing.
With special guests.
We're on the clock.
Then when are we sending in the ticket? I already sent the ticket.
Hello, welcome to episode 7 of It's Getting Drafty in Here, presented to you by the Tainted Glove Network. I am your host, Magnificent Stan, otherwise known as Brian, and today is Tuesday, January 24th. I literally just had to look at the clock on my computer to confirm the date. It's January 24th, 2023. Today's episode, we're going to be drafting certain characters and aspects of The Sopranos, the David Chase crime drama mega hit. So yeah, we're gonna be doing that. Let me go ahead and introduce all of our guests. We're gonna try a little something different this time. As we introduce our guests here today, I would like for each of them to mention exactly how they watched The Sopranos the first time. I know all of us have watched it probably 56 or 57 times at this point, but if you guys can just kind of mention how you watched it the first time. So let's go with our first guest, King Nam. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
No problem. No problem.
So I probably watched it later than everybody else in this group. I did not watch it for the first time until right around the summer of 2014. I successfully staved off every single. You're such an asshole. Whoever put that up there. Any spoilers? I had no clue how it ended. Anytime anything came up, I was like, that's a show I'm going to watch. And I immediately turned the channel or changed the radio station and ignored anybody that would ever talk about it. And I made it all the way through to the end without ever hearing a spoiler. So,
wow, that's
impressive.
Yeah, that is impressive.
It sounds like total bullshit, I'll be honest.
Amy can back me up.
All right. Now returning for, what is this, your third time now, Yumper? Third or fourth episode?
Yeah, it's my third time, I think.
It's our buddy, Tom Yumper Garcia from the Yumper and Svo show. What's up, buddy?
What's up, my guys? First time I saw Sopranos, actually, my aunt and uncle were really, really big fans. I used to go stay by them. They actually lived in Orland Park, which is kind of funny because I live in that area now. And I would stay with them on the weekends every once in a while. And me and my uncle, he owns a store in Southside Chicago, Casey's Hardware. So I would go work with him and then stay the weekend. And we would, they would always watch The Sopranos on Sunday. I was like religious to them. So I would watch some episodes here and there. And then when it started airing on A&E is when I started really getting into it. It was after the series run, and it was without swearing, which is why I can't really watch shows on like FX and A&E when they don't have swearing in it. So my buddy actually had all the box set. And when I would work, I would go to school, work my job during college, and then come home. And I would I've noticed I knocked out all 6 seasons within like 3 weeks. And I've been hooked ever since. Like,
that's awesome.
My favorite show of all time, by far.
Awesome. I think that's a go for pretty much everybody in this room. Is probably their favorite drama of all time, I would say. All right, Svo, what do you got, buddy?
So, The Sopranos was a thing that my family would get together on Sunday nights and watch, and we would take turns making different dinners and having dinners catered. And I remember the big one was from a restaurant that was popular in the neighborhood that my family is from. Like, we would have Nuevo Leon catered in when Nuevo Leon was still like a thing, before the owner burned it down for insurance money. But
allegedly,
was it owned by Artie Bucco?
It sounds like something straight out of an episode, but yeah, no, we would get together and have dinner and then like bullshit and talk about the episode. But it's just that, like, my dad is one that introduced me to all this shit, just like all the movies that we talked about, and it hits differently than anything else I've ever watched, and I love it.
Right on. All right, and finally, from the 108, legend, Beefloaf. What's up, buddy?
Brian, what's up, man? Thanks so much for inviting me. I'm happy to break my cherry in front of you fine-looking gentlemen tonight. The way I got into Sopranos is kind of weird. I started watching it at the end. So season 6, or the broken season 6 or whatever, in there is when I first started getting in on it, kind of live action going. And then after it was over, mine and Treasy's cousin, well, our play cousin. We weren't exactly, but you know how all Mexicans are cousins, like Yump, you know that shit. So my play cousin, he had the box set, and he's like, you got to watch this from the beginning. You've got to go back and rewatch the entire series. It's so great. And so that's when I did that, and I absolutely loved it when I went back and watched the whole thing kind of in one shot. And then ever since then, I do rewatches. I know we were talking about this before we got on here, but I'll rewatch just an individual season that I want to see. You know, I just want to see, Ralphie and Pio Mai and all that. If I just want to watch, season 4 or whatever, then I'll hone in on that and I'll drop it. I won't always do a full rewatch. So like you guys are talking, it's like maybe your favorite. I can't tell if it's exactly my favorite, but it's definitely my most rewatchable series. It always has been.
Cool. Okay. So for me, it was a family thing. We watched I was still, when it first aired, I was 18, still living at home with my folks, and we would watch every Sunday. It was like a routine that every Sunday we'd watch The Sopranos, and kept going on and on and on. The last couple seasons, we kind of drifted. We didn't do it as much, but yeah, it was one of those shows that you watch with your family, and even though it had that kind of subject matter that was a little dicey, it still worked for everybody, It was that family aspect of the show that kind of drawed mom in, and then the blood and guts is everybody else, So let's start getting into drafting. Before we start, real quick, I just want to we did add some stipulations to this draft. One that I forgot here, I'm going to show you guys this. So one that I forgot that I didn't put on this list is you cannot draft any of the members of the immediate family. So Tony, Carmela, Meadow, AJ, you cannot draft them. I figured it would add more. We're talking about more characters, and then obviously Tony and everybody would end up being part of organically part of the conversation. So we're doing 5 rounds. You do need to draft at least one connected member, one wise guy, a wife or a Gumar, a character that is not part of the organized crime syndicate, and then we're also drafting an episode. So everybody has to draft an episode, and then they can, as another draft, you have like wild card to pretty much draft whatever you want for that last one. So yeah, let's get started. Beefloaf.
Me first. I love it. I totally feel, even though I agree with the ground rules, I'm getting piped that I can't pick Tony Soprano here because it's the 1-1 of all 1-1s. There is another obvious 1-1 on the board, and you know what? I'm not going chalk. I'm going to let one of you guys go chalk with the other obvious 1-1 here, given our categories. I'm going to go with just my favorite, and I wrote a blog about him. The actor who played him passed away this year, or last year, 2022. That is Peter Paulie Walnuts Galtieri, played by Tony Sirico. Just an unreal character, something that couldn't be replicated by anybody else. And a character that came on as the show went. It was kind of like an afterthought, and he became like one of the main guys on the show just by personality and his charisma and everything that went into making that character. And audiences, including me, it went wild for it. Like I just can't get enough of him in absolutely any episode he's in. All his idiosyncrasies, everything about him is just so fucking wild. All the drama around him is incredible.
Is like the episodes where he discovers that his mom isn't his mom. Like some of the fucking funniest things I've ever seen on TV in my entire life. And then he skips out and he cheaps out on building the rides at the Centennial Festival.
At the fair. Yes.
It's just fucking. That's like, if it's not Tony, it's Paulie and Beef. You might have already won the draft.
And I don't know who you were thinking of as like I'm not going to go with the obvious one. I feel like Paulie Walnuts is the obvious one, man. That guy.
In this category, I think he's the best pick available, but there's another category where there's an obvious 1-1. Like, if you look at the other categories.
Okay. Yeah,
I know
what
Beef,
you're talking about.
He was going to go Pine Barrens number 1 of 1.
I was not going to go Pine Barrens 101.
Speaking of Pine Barrens.
16 Czechoslovakians. This house looked like shit.
This house looked like shit. Those two played off each other so well in that episode. It was a match made in heaven. And then just yeah, he worked with everybody. He played off of everybody so well. That guy obviously typecast his whole damn career.
Yep.
And he laid into it, and he hit a home run every time.
Awesome.
I'm
He's
a little
awesome
disappointed
character.
I'm a little disappointed Yump didn't have the mix it with the relish sound clip, like
No.
ready to go.
No, I
There's
have
something better in that episode than they've only been out there for the day and it's like they're starving to death, so they got to eat ketchup and raw. Like they couldn't just like take the day and not eat anything. Like it's amazing.
Yeah, just the thing about
Wrapping
him
their
is,
feet.
one of my favorite ones is when he goes to the sidekick and he's like, was he?
That's what this is, you know. Satanic black magic. Sick shit.
His whole dialogue, everything he gives is hilarious. I showed you guys the when Tully Blundetto was telling them about his Korean partner for his massage parlor, and he's like telling them this note to the wise, remember Pearl Harbor, which had nothing to fucking do with Korean. But he was like, just remember Pearl Harbor. Like all that stuff is like, he's such an asshole. He's totally heartless. When Tony's dying, he's basically telling her, fuck Carmela, I'm not going to pay her. And then when Tony comes out of the coma, he runs and gives her money. He's scared. Like, it's totally great written crafted, beautifully played by Tony Sirico. Yeah, he was typecast, but he was really good at what he did.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the one where they go to Italy and
Commodore.
And Commendatore, and they're like, you're a fucking Yahoo, you know.
Tony's like, Tony just looks at him dead in the eyes. Will you shut the fuck up? I'm trying to conduct business here.
Yeah, he tells him I gotta take a wicked shit.
Oh, okay, let's go to number 2 here. King Nam, what do you got, bud?
All right, so Paulie probably would have been the choice. I'm having a tough time. I'm going to go with the name that I got written down first. I'm going to go with Silvio Dante. I feel like we're going to go hot and heavy on the wise guys pretty early because you don't want to miss out on some of the top ones. And he was there from beginning to the end. He had just when I thought I was out in the very first season, he was talking like that. And I feel like he was good with Tony the whole way. Like when he needed to tell Tony like to rein it in a little bit, he did. And when he needed to give him a little kick in the butt, he did. I just felt like Sil was a character. Like Paulie, for instance, when he went away, he was gone for a few episodes. Sil just always seemed to be there up until the very end. And
yeah, he's the consistent force of the family. He's always there. He was always, up until that last couple episodes, obviously. Yeah, he was always the guy that they always relied on,
No Vito Spatafor there. Treasy's upset at you now. Your best. You didn't take your best fucking buddy. Your cameo buddy. You know.
Hold on. First of all, who's to say that Vito is not going to pop up during this draft at my house?
You're not wrong.
There's some popping up that could happen.
There's definitely going to be some Vito Spatafor commentary in this one.
For sure. Also, there's a wild card round, so don't worry.
I think one of the most underrated storylines was when Tony was in the hospital and Silvio was acting boss, and he got fucking the agita, and he got sick from being the boss for like a week. I thought it was just absolutely hilarious.
Yeah,
these fucking flowers. Get him out of here.
I listened to the Talking Sopranos podcast. I don't know if any of you guys listened to that.
Yeah.
That was, and that was great. Steve Sciarippa and Michael Imperioli. And they talked about how, he was originally going, Steven Van Zandt was originally going for Tony, the role of Tony. And they just liked him, and he just created this character. He was just like, all right, I want to do this. I'm going to do the hair thing and all this shit. And they just kind of wrote him in, after the fact. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, my favorite line in the entire series actually is Silvio during the intervention when he's reading it and he's talking to Christopher and he's like, "You were throwing up in the toilet and your hair was in the toilet water. Disgusting."
One of my favorite scenes with him and actually Paulie is when they go to the Jewish guy's hotel. And he's got him on the countertop. He's beating the shit out of him. He's like, "Tell him Bumpus, Paulie. Tell him Bumpus." He's like, "What?" He's like, "Tell him that means you get nothing. Buckus." He's like, he hits him with the fucking bell. He's like, "This is how I say you get nothing." Fuck that. That whole Silvio is great. He's can be serious, like you guys said, and he can be hilarious at the time. Like Steven Van Zandt, for a musician, you would think that he's gonna have an easy role. He actually played the role really, really well. And then he went on to do Lilyhammer, which is not as great as Sopranos, but a decent show to watch if you haven't watched it.
Good. Lilyhammer
It is
was
good,
really
yeah.
good. Yup, I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, and you know what? It's funny is his wife on the show is actually his wife too.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was fun. I thought she did a great job on the show as well. Maybe we'll talk about her again later. But
Just never know.
right. But let's go to number 3 here. What do you got, Yumper?
So man, this will be a tough one because I have 2. Paulie was obviously my first, and I knew Pete was going to take him.
Yep.
So I'm gonna have to go with I can go the easy route. I'm gonna go with Uncle Junior. I'm gonna say Uncle Junior is
Nice.
probably like one of the most influential characters in there. He actually, played catch with Tony Soprano. He has like some of the best dialogue in the show, some of the best jokes. You're never a varsity athlete. Your sister's cunt. Just the whole when he's going through his
Go
dementia.
shit in your hat.
Yeah, go shit in your hat.
In your head, yeah.
When he's going through the whole when he's diagnosed with dementia and he's looking at the TV and he thinks he's on TV with Bobby. One of my favorite scenes is when he looks at the TV and the caricature of him from the court and he's like, "What the fuck?" And they go to the court and he's just staring the guy down the whole time.
He gets
Like-
his hand stuck in the garbage disposal.
Yeah,
He's just standing there for 6 hours.
yeah. His character is great, and it's sad what happens to him at the end, but his arc is awesome. So I have to
Yeah.
go Uncle June.
Right on.
Yeah, that's a great choice. I mean, the show, the beginning of the show gets washed away because of all the seasons or whatever. But him and Tony are at odds at the very beginning. It's a power struggle in the beginning of that show of them, and then the bonding, and then then obviously Junior goes crackers and shoots him later on. But it's kind of wild.
Yeah, definitely. It just shows like how kind of fucked up the whole relationship of them is. Like he tried to kill him, and then he's going by his house and having dinner like, later.
yeah. That was always funny to me. And another thing about just the show in general, and he's a perfect example of it. And we actually, Svo and I talked about this on the Christmas episode. Is like people that can write old people dialogue. It's impeccable on that show. They know exactly how old people talk on that show. Like it's even like the psychological part of being elderly. It's like it's absolute perfection.
For sure, yeah. And Dominic Chianese, he was actually in Godfather 2, which is another great movie.
Johnny Ola.
Yeah, Johnny Ola.
Yeah.
And then like even his singing when he does this, when he gets up and drunkenly sings at Jackie Jr.'s funeral, like just scenes like that. Like the series is so perfectly written in certain ways. Like you can really get into a scene like that with everything else from all the killing and the jokes, and then they have things like that like that.
Right.
Yeah, agreed, Jump. That's the beauty of the entire the entire show, because it makes you forget about how terrible these people are, and you kind of live vicariously through them and some of their normal life struggles. You're stripped away from the fact that they're murderers and killers and thieves.
Yeah, you're like, Tony's ducks flew away. That guy's a fucking murderer. Let's not joke
take it
around.
easy.
Like the guy's a sociopath. Like, don't feel sorry for him.
No,
you know?
that's
Killed the guy over a horse.
What were you saying now?
That stuff is all secondary. I feel bad, and I like live and die with like all of the emotions that they feel through this. I don't care that they're murderers and cheaters and robbers and all that other shit. Like,
I think that's the beauty of the show. Yeah.
I completely agree. And my wife is not a fan of the show, right? But like she's like, it's not a mobster show. It's a family soap opera. Like, and that's the great thing about the show is it's more than just that.
100%. So I'm gonna go. This was actually, believe it or not, this was my 1-1. So if I'd had the first pick, I would have taken this. I'm getting rid of my my non connected character. He's kind of the bumbling part of the show, the comedy sidekick almost. I'm going with failed chef Artie Bucco.
Great pick.
It's really, I mean, he's just one of those guys. He always seems like he wanted to be part of something and he never was. And it always kind of killed him. And, even though he had like really good support system in his life. Like his wife was like, "You don't need this shit, Artie. You know, we need this." And he's like, "No, fuck that. I wanna invest in Armagnac or whatever." You know, like
Exactly.
like he always wanted to be a wise guy, and he never
Yeah.
got to do it. And he was good at what he did, and he was successful, and he just got mixed up in the nonsense too much, you know.
And a total chicken shit. Like
Oh, he's up, yeah, like
Like,
the one with Indians where he hiding in the car.
yeah, but so he comes out and he's like, that better not be Columbus. And then they can throw something. He runs to the car. He runs to the car and he gets hit. Like, he's hilarious. Like, his character is just great. And he's Tony's best friend, which is kind of funny.
And I think
Right, and that actually allows him to take all these wild chances and do incredibly stupid shit. Like when he held the gun to Tony about the fire at the restaurant, right? No one else gets away with that and lives, right?
Like he comes
Yeah,
out with a
exactly.
hunting gun.
Falling in love
Exactly.
with Adriana. Falling in love with Adriana.
Yes, he falls in love with Adriana. He and
And
Christopher
with-
doesn't get to
with
kill him
Benny,
because of
too.
Tony. He whips Benny's ass, goes to his house, drags him out of his house, and beats the shit out of him, and somehow does not die. Like he just like you're right, Brian. He so wants to be part of it, and he's so lucky that Tony's his best friend. Saves his stupid ass from absolutely everything that he gets his ass into. It's
Dude,
incredible.
he owes Tony like fucking like $500,000, and he lets him like that part's too funny too. When they're in the hospital, he's like, "Oh, you planned this." He's like, "Don't fucking ask me for anything." He's like, "I'm just ashamed. I'm ashamed," and like then he bails him out in the end. Like that's
And he
crazy.
does. Like, he's so fucking lame too. He goes, "My vision is clear." And Tony's like, "Shut the fuck up, man."
Give me your wallet.
Oh boy. Okay. One other scene I want to mention, just because you have to mention it, is when he shoots the rabbit in the garden,
And then cooks it.
and then he fucking cooks it. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. But,
Prepares it.
but that was him kind of finding himself. He he dug back into he looked at his like dad's old cookbook basically, and that's when he started making the rabbit, and it kind of like just kind of opened him back up and re-energized him, you know. But okay, let's go with Svo. You got two here, buddy.
All right. Well, I'm worried that he's not going to be here the next time around, and his whole storyline, character arc, like it basically carried the show for a few seasons. The man that loves the movie Gladiator more than anything else in this entire world, I gotta go Ralphie Cifaretto.
Yes. Attaboy.
Like Ralphie Cifaretto, like first of all, Joey Pants is a fucking genius, right? And he made this character so good. I love Ralphie Cifaretto. I love the storyline with what's the stripper's name?
Tracy.
Tracy.
Yeah, I think
Tracy,
that's right,
right?
yeah.
And that whole thing, and like he's a terrible person. Absolutely terrible person. Yeah, Alexis, I know he's a terrible person. We hate him, but that's what makes the
all
story
are.
so fucking good. So yeah, Ralphie's my pick.
Nice one, Fitz.
Yeah, I mean, I love Ralphie. I used him as my meme for Cody Hoare when he was here. I was sad when he left and he went over to the Cubs. But you're right; he's a great antagonist to Tony.
He is.
But he's a terrific earner and really smart, so they can't kind of get rid of him. Right? They're at that tough spot where they want to kill this guy, but he's such a damn good earner. He also is the one who sets off Jackie Jr. into a spiral by telling him the story, you know. So like he's got kind of all of that going on. He's with Jackie April's wife, and then he leaves her and he goes to Janice. Like he's kind of floating around women in the thing. It's wild.
Yeah, and I think like you hit it right on the head, Beef. Like he sets off the Jackie Jr. spiral. He introduces Tony to Pyomai, which sends him down like this like rabbit hole. Like he's a catalyst for so much good shit in the show.
Yeah, definitely.
And he's just an antagonist from the first time we see him. When he tries to comfort Tony during his mom's funeral, when they go to his house, and then he's like, "You're captain when I make you captain." He's like, "Well, I'll turn up my hearing aid to make sure I listen and hear it." So like then from there, like even when he goes to confront him about Pyomai, he's like, "What the hell fuck you care about a horse? You eat fucking beef by the tons, you fathead." Like, it's just, like he did not give a fuck. That's the funny part about it. Like Joey Pants is awesome, and the character is so much. You hate the character so much, you kind of like him in the end. He just turns into one of those guys.
It is interesting too. There's like a pre-existing beef between him and Tony that doesn't get shown because
they never establish it at all. Yeah,
at the beginning, right? Because if he's handling the Esplanade, he's got to be one of your top guys, and yet you're holding him back. Like you're letting him interface with the New York families and everything kind of directly, and then you're not making him captain. There's like some unspoken thing there that they never went into that, that they're the tension setting that up before them.
Yeah, I think that was kind of hinted to when he's telling the story of Jackie Jr. and how he claims he had the clamp before he went to the did they rob the game, the card game?
Yeah.
So maybe it had something to do where they didn't let him go or something. I wish they would have expanded upon it, but
yeah.
Cool. All right.
Well,
Svo.
I think it has to be done then. I think like if Pine Barrens isn't off the board, I think that's the route that I got to go. It's the most iconic Sopranos episode, and I'm surprised that it lasted. So I'm gonna go Pine Barrens for my episode pick.
Oh, yeah, that's the one I thought was obvious. That's the one I thought.
Just because the discrepancy between the disparity between the gap between the two.
Yeah,
one.
Not for me personally. I think there's a lot of episodes that are tightly bunched there, but I think as far as it's well known, when you put this in a graphic, Brian, people who are voting on the poll are going to say they know Pine Barrens, like, oh, that person won that category, kind of thing.
But I also feel like picking an episode this early is like picking a kicker in fantasy football, right? Like, did I blow it? Did I blow it too early, like by picking the episode? But I think it's so iconic that you have to go with it.
Is Jackie in the room? Because you can call it your Paperboy pick.
It's funny because with my first pick, I was going to say Paperboy
or Muppet Christmas Carol. We can call it.
Real quick side note: picking a kicker in fantasy, Robbie Gould has never missed a playoff extra point or field goal, and he has definitely kicked a lot more of them in the playoffs for the Niners than the Bears.
Hey, Beef. I mean, hey, Nam.
Quasimodo predicted all this.
I like that one too.
Perfection.
That's perfect. You make sure use that on every show. I would use that. on every show.
Yeah. Shit, I need that.
Like, 95% of the time, like I text with Nam and I'm like, man, this is a good dude. I like him. And then he says shit like that, and I'm like, why am I friends with him?
I'm the opposite. 5% of the time, I think you're a good dude.
Do me a favor, Beef. Show him your shirt real quick.
There you go. You want some of that?
I almost wore that one tonight. Yeah, so Pine Barrens. Why don't we get into that a little bit here, because it's such an iconic episode, directed by Steve Buscemi, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably the most, well, when you, like Beef said, when you talk about a Sopranos episode, it's probably one of the most famous or well-known episodes. It basically shows the dynamic of Paulie and Christopher and how well they feed off each other. On top of that, you got the Russian that's been like a conspiracy throughout Sopranos, lore, what happened to him. And it's kind of funny, like as I went into a deep dive, doing this and then just in general, because I'm a nerd like that, David Chase actually had a scene in the last episode where Tony walks into Slava's bar and the Russian's sweeping and doesn't recognize him. And the whole thing was Slava found him in the woods and he lost his memory because of the gunshot. But he was going to pay it off, but they like, I guess everybody else in them, they're like, nobody cares about that. So,
that's a
but
shame.
now everybody's like, oh yeah, they care about it. It's pretty crazy that could have happened. That would have been a nice little cookie to throw to the fans.
Definitely. Okay. Let's get into the next one here. I'm gonna get my my wise guy pick off the list here. I'm gonna go. I'm surprised he hasn't been picked yet. I'm gonna go Christopher Moltisanti. Basically the Robin to Tony's Batman. I mean,
I didn't.
I did.
I really wanted to use we should have went to Roy Rogers, but I couldn't.
That's better.
Oh man, there's just so much going on with that guy. Like they could have done a whole show about just him. I mean,
they should make a movie about like his dad or something.
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah, Christopher, Christopher Jr. were like my one and ones that was going to, but I went with Junior instead. But Michael Imperioli, excellent actor. You feel like he does the great part of making Christopher feel so sorry for himself that you actually kind of like, man, this guy's a piece of shit. But he's also hilarious. Like he has hilarious scenes when he kills the dog when he sits on it. That's one of the best
nodding
parts.
off. Oh my god,
he's nodding off. And then you kind of understand like even his.
It must be climbed under there for warmth.
His relationship with Tony too. Like he loves Tony, but then when the Jackie Jr. situation happens, he basically tells him, "We gotta play by all the fucking rules, and you basically do whatever the hell you want. So you don't give a fuck about us." Like that's kind of sends him more into a downward spiral.
Well, and Tony needed that too. Tony needed someone to tell him, like, "Hey, this is not right. You gotta take care of this motherfucker."
Christopher, also, you get to see the entire arc of what it's like to be a wise guy. He starts off as kind of at the very bottom. With the rest of the guys, they're kind of roughly in their positions, right? They might get a minor promotion, whatever. He's in the bottom. He works his way all the way the fuck up to like, basically he's the number 2 by the time he dies. I mean, I know he's, I don't know if he's officially the number 2, but he's the go-between basically at that point at which he dies. So like it's rare in those types of, at least in Sopranos, no one else does that. He kind of has that arc,
Yeah, K-Fids puts up a good point there. That episode with the tipping or paying the tab at the restaurant.
Yes.
Oh man,
when the guy has a seizure after they hit him with a brick.
Not just that, like even when Paulie steals from his father-in-law, Paulie drives on his fucking lawn and destroys he goes crazy there. But like he has some great lines, Beef. Like the even when he's like just starting out and he goes, "In my thoughts, I use positive visualization." Like that, like that's like and then the beginning when Tony's beating the shit out of that guy and he's checking his car to make sure it's okay.
Yeah, it's like a brand new Lexus, right?
Yeah, brand new.
And then almost
I love when
almost like a behind the scenes when they're making the movie with Jon Favreau and he's coming up with the dialogue, like just brilliant piece of the show.
Just Christopher's when they show you like little bits of his script that he's writing and like all the grammar and the spelling errors like everywhere because he's just a fucking dumb shit.
The guy who had taps on his shoes.
Right. Oh boy. Okay, let's go with Yumper. What do you got?
Oh man. So I knew Pine Barrens was gonna be gone. I think I'll hold my pick. I have a couple of them. I can hold them, but I think I'm gonna go with the regular non-connected character, and I'm gonna go with the person that is on the other side, but ends up actually kind of helping them out, and that's Agent Harris.
Good pick.
Good one. I had him on my list too.
That's a good pick.
He comes by as a likable guy. I mean, and then you see him going through his own turmoil with his family and his wife, and then she's like, "Fuck it, I'm just gonna help Tony out." But he's like one of the few FBI guys that kind of feels bad for how they treat Tony. Evident by when they play him the tape for his mom, and he just kind of puts his head down because it's kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
But total likable character.
He's human. Like a lot of FBI agents, they're gonna look at an organized crime boss and just think like, you're a fucking monster. I don't have any opinion. But he actually had like a soul, I guess you could say.
Well, even like when he first meets him, he knocks on the door and tells him, "You want to let your family know instead of us busting in."
Yeah.
And like just stuff like little things like that. Like he's at least giving the common courtesy. Yeah, he knows that he's a bad a criminal, but we're still gonna treat you like a human being, which I always liked.
Yeah.
And then he got like food poisoning or some virus in Afghanistan, and that was like a whole thing. Like that was like
all he
just
wanted was
character.
a pork sandwich.
Damn, that's a fucking good. That's a good pick, Yumper. You son of a bitch.
Christopher, hope he died. I hope he fucking dies from that.
That's right.
All right, let's go with the next one, King Nam.
All right. I'm struggling with this one. I think that I'm going to have to go with my wild card. I went down to the bakery earlier and picked up some fresh cannolis with my buddy Gino, who is actually Vito.
Vito.
I am going to go with Vito. So Treasy jumped the gun on me a little bit there, but I needed to grab Syl in the first round, but I knew Vito would stick around a little longer. And,
That's good value in the second round.
Yeah, I agree.
I gotta go with Vito, not just for the cameos that he's done for me, which are gonna add about 5 years on the back end of my career for how expensive they were. But I mean, he's got such great moments, like when they catch him in the bar and he calls Syl at 3 a.m. to feel out if he heard anything, and then just the whole on the run and all that. Like, it was great. One of my favorite, craziest scenes is when he sits down with Tony when they've been looking for him and he's been on the run, and he just goes, "My brother's over there." And Tony goes, "What the fuck's that supposed to mean?" And he goes, "Nothing. He's just there." Like,
Yeah, the guy's like,
so yeah, I got to go with Vito.
Right on. That's
Vito's
a good one.
Vito's got two moments that I absolutely love. One is the first time he's in a show, he's a completely different character in the fucking bakery that Christopher takes his gun out, right?
Yeah,
He's not even
yeah.
Vito.
Yeah.
And then the second one is when Tony is shot, he's like, "You know, with all this weight loss, I'm a healthy man. I should be next in line for the throne." I'm like, Jesus Christ, man.
one of my one of my favorite parts about Vito is his dialogue when his brother gets hit in the head by Mustang Sally and they're in the hospital. And Tony's like, "Vito, you won't say anything, right?" He's like, "You know my mouth's closed, Tone." And then fucking Ralphie's like, "Except that there happens to be a salami sandwich lying around."
Fucking Ralphie.
But yeah, Vito is another character. Like, and you know, they kind of explored areas that were kind of out there, you know, that people deal with every day. Like, well, if there was a homosexual in the mob, and they added that aspect, and you know, Tony didn't give a shit until people started giving him shit about it. Like, all he cared about was the money he was making, because he even tried to say the amount of money that guy makes, and then he tried to use his family to stop Carlo from going out. You're gonna take care of his kids, like, just because he was so greedy about the money, he didn't give a shit about everything else.
He's like, hey, Finnegan, what do you know?
Yeah, I was gonna say that story with Finn was ridiculous. He put so much pressure on that poor kid throughout all that shit. I mean, it was terrible. And then also, like, he's like dealing with his homosexuality, but like in one of the scenes he mentioned, "Oh, you know what? You know, when Christopher was in the hospital, I was this close to banging Adriana and shit like that." It's like, get the fuck out of here! Like, what the hell? No one believes that. Like, come on.
Aren't they cousins? Because he's Richie Apria's cousin, and she is
that's
too.
right. Yeah,
or his niece or something like that. I'm like, what the fuck? Like,
if it's good enough for Godfather 3, it's good enough for me. I don't break any. You know.
Yikes.
I wasn't expecting a Sofia Coppola incest joke from the Godfather. You did it. You did it. I'm proud.
I got some better ones later. Depends on the picks. I got some good ones later on too. Not related, but you know.
Okay, let's go to the next one. What do you got, Beef?
All right, I'm back to back here. I'm gonna go with my wife Gumar pick first, and I'm gonna go with the most volatile, bombastic Gumar that you could pick, and that's Gloria Trillo. The whole story with her, the fact that she would get that close to the house, get that close to Tony's wife, was just like crazy basic instinct, you know, fatal attraction bullshit. Like, it was terrifying. And she mirrored Tony's mom in a lot of ways, and they reveal that kind of towards the end of their I'll call it a courtship. I mean, it was wild, but you know, like but she had all the things that Tony was kind of looking for. This more different than his wife, an independent woman, you know, out there kind of doing her own things, making her own way. He seemed to be attracted to that later on in the show, more so with the women that he was dating, and less just like normal arm candy. So
yeah,
I really liked that whole thing, and that it was intertwined too with his therapy was kind of a weird, interesting thing. So yeah, Gloria Trillo, easy pick for me.
That's a great pick, Beef. Actually, she was like on top of my wife on our list.
I mean,
her story is great.
She's like, that's like the blatant pick. Like, you gotta go Gloria with the Guma pick.
Yeah, great pick. That's awesome.
I told Amy I was struggling on that category, and I said I had to go with her because I wanted one of them that, like Beef said, she had the biggest balls, because she took Carmela in her car and drove her home. And then she whipped the London Royal off Tony's head too. So like, I mean, she gave no fucks. She was like, she was in it. She's ready to go. She was wild, and that was what I was looking for in that kind of character throughout the series. And I felt she nailed that role perfect.
And she's also part of like probably the most, in my opinion, the most chilling scene of the whole series when Patsy drives her around.
Yes.
So they go for a test
My
drive,
face
and
won't
he's
be
like,
the last one you see.
Yeah,
Yes. That's great.
Right. That's.
I love the way they do that too. They do that scene, and then they cut from it, and then when they cut back to Patsy, he's like on the phone with his wife, getting some bread and stuff. It's like, oh yeah, I'll pick up such and such for dinner. It's like that's just his job. He got off his 9 to 5 where he had a pistol in someone's face, threatening to blow her tits off, and then he's got to go to the grocery store before he goes home for dinner. I love it.
Totally. And like just like her character in general, like how you were saying, Beef, how Tony was attracted to her, like you kind of feel like he actually really loved her, because when she kills herself, he goes after Dr. Melfi, and like basically he can't really get over her dying, and he kind of blames himself for it a little bit. Yeah. He tells her you could have helped her, but she said sometimes he can't. He blames her for a little bit, and then he dreams about her later in the series.
Yeah, you're right. And he was really concerned about her, because when he found out she was, like Dr. Melfi during one of their sessions, she like paused when she found out that he was going out with Gloria, and he was like, what's wrong with her? Kind of like he really wanted to know. He was interested in her personally. But yeah, that's
well, I think he saw a little bit of Melfi in her too, because she was a successful businesswoman. And also, so there's also that dynamic. Not only like he sees his mom because she's like a lunatic, and then just a control freak lunatic, and then somebody who's accomplished at least in some capacity.
Absolutely. I right now I got to go with my next pick. I got to go with my non-connected, because you guys have knocked out two of my top couple. So I got to go with my next one just to save face, because I think we're running out a little bit in that category. So I'm actually going to go with Jennifer Melfi. Being a main character, but only being in scenes basically with the other main characters, kind of an interesting way to present someone like that. And obviously the history, she was the wife in Goodfellas, and now she switches around the role here, and she's a therapist. You learn a lot about Tony in their conversations, but you learn a lot about her too. Mm-hmm. And her character is extremely interesting as well, that she's divorced, and that she has an alcohol problem, and you see that she has problems with her kid, and it's just very much realized. I mean, she has to, that's where they broach a rape scene with her in the parking lot, and just sort of all the things that go along with that. And as tough as those things are to watch, I'm glad they did bring it through and make us kind of like feel it with it. So I thought she just did a great job, great character.
I didn't realize she was in Goodfellas. I only know her from Hackers.
I heard that she was supposed to be cast for the wife in Sopranos, and she was like, I've done that. I'm going to do a different role. Yeah,
she'd have been good at it, but Edie Falco won like 37 Emmys for that show, and I mean, you really can't.
Yes.
Well, I mean, come on, I fucking hate the character of Carmela, but I love Edie Falco's interpretation of it is absolutely flawless.
Totally agree.
Yeah, Dr. Melfi's a really good pick, Beef. Just her whole thing with the rape scene, and then she you feel bad for her, and then at the end when she realizes she can have Tony basically take the guy out, it kind of empowers her. Like and she even tells I think she tells her therapist, like, or somebody, I know I can crush him like a fucking cockroach now. Like, just having that opportunity, and the knowing that I have that power makes me feel better.
Right.
Yeah. It's like she got everything that was taken away from her back almost.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then she ends up, she's actually one of the smart ones. She cuts off the relationship, and she realizes it's just going in circles.
Yeah.
It's harmful for her as much as it is for him,
Great pick, Beef.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's I didn't think she'd last to the third round. That's interesting. But all right, Nam, what do you got?
I'm looking at this, and I think I need to cheat a little bit here.
You already got your wild card out of the way, so you're gonna.
So, picks have been tough, man. This has been tough already.
This could fall under the wife category or the not connected category, but it could also not fall under either of those. So I'll let you guys be the judge. I'm going to go with Liv Soprano.
Ooh.
I feel like I think she falls into the not connected category because even though she knows what's going on and she essentially kind of was running the show in pulling the strings of Junior, she never outright said exactly how she wanted.
I would put her in the wife category.
I would too, Brian. And the reason being is
that'll make the rest of my draft a lot easier too.
She kind of called the hit on Tony, basically.
Yeah.
You know, she's at least a 50-50 partner in that hit. So I would put her on the wife side of this.
But how did she actually say that? Like, that's why.
Well, she tells us Junior everything about what's going on with all the captains meeting there. But also, even Tony mentions when he talks to Dr. Amelfi that his dad was a strong guy and she nibbled him down to a nub.
Yeah.
She has that personality. Like they even in the flashback scenes, when he has a chance to get out and make money become a millionaire, she tells him that she's going to smother his kids if he doesn't stay, which is crazy because like she's very controlling, very manipulative. I think Uncle Junior said it best when he said she's like a woman who comes up from the sewer, the Virginia hand in the one arm and Rolex in the other, and cries the blues because she ain't got no bread. Like
that's perfect. I love that.
So
great character.
What category is she going under then?
I would say wife.
Wife Kumar, but that great character, absolutely. Great character.
Do you guys agree on that?
Yeah, I mean, and I, man, what a good pick! Like, none of this show doesn't exist if it's not for her,
right?
Like, it's all about Tony's issues with her.
Yes. Yeah.
The first time that I watched the show, I absolutely despised her, and like, I honestly, like, when she died in the show, I was like, this is good because she was a horrible, horrible person. And every rewatch that I've done, I love her more and more. I could not have done like a bigger flip on her. Like, she is incredible in the show.
She's the antagonist in the show full of antagonists. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
For you.
Yes.
Like she had a bigger role in the series too. She was supposed to be testifying against them before she passed. That would have been a big story. They had to switch it all around when she passed away.
That's like for the airline ticket thing, right?
Yeah.
That's what she was going to testify. Yeah.
Yeah, her character was beautifully played. Like it's just like you hate her so much, and you understand why Tony has that love-hate relationship with her. But that was a good pick, Tom.
Yeah, excellent.
Absolutely. All right, let's go with yours, bud.
All right, I think I'm gonna hold off on my episodes. I have a few that I can pick, so I'm gonna go with a Gumar, or could have been wife, and I can't believe she's still on here. I'm going to Adriana for my round 3.
Nice.
Christopher's love thing. Also a rat.
That was my next pick. So,
so a rat is right.
Yeah.
And suffer of irritable bowel syndrome.
I was like, I'm surprised you told everybody that. It's supposed to be personal. But you know, she's great character. You know, she loves the glamour. She knows what Christopher does. She even asks him like, "When are you gonna get made?" And they're fucking smoking hot and snorting crack, cocaine, the Furio. Like, she's great.
Yeah, the IBS, Alexis. Yeah, that shit was so funny.
Oh my gosh,
it was so perfect.
Yeah, just a great character.
Everything about it. She defines that whole like genre of like that New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she was in Sons of Anarchy, and she was fantastic in Sons of Anarchy too.
Yeah.
And one of the characters that everybody got sad about when she got killed. They still really kill her because then they showed it off screen, but you know, we know she's dead, but everybody was really sad when she died.
That makes me really surprised that a certain episode hasn't been mentioned yet, because that's probably the second most famous episode.
Well, I like too that she's a total ride or die, man. She is willing to put up with all the bullshit. She is in there with Christopher like all the way, you know, until the FBI gets right up her ass, and she's smoking hot. This show doesn't have a lot of like super beautiful looking people in it in general. It just has kind of regular looking people top to bottom. She's a smoke show right in here, and so we need a little bit of that. I'm sorry, I'm going to offend people in the comments, but it's good to have that in the show.
Her and Janice.
Bavardi. Bavardi is definitely a smoke show.
Bavardi, that's right.
Bavardi is definitely a smoke show.
Oh
well,
my god.
talk
No, but
about a segue. My draft pick. I'm gonna go with Janice.
Yes.
That is my wife Kumar because he was a couple of them, you know.
Yeah, I hated Janice. Like
Everybody hates Janice.
everything about her,
That's the best part.
I hate her, and like how she manipulates everybody, and basically goes from one thing to another. She like traps poor Bobby Bacala, terrorizes his kids with the Ouija board.
That's right.
Like fucking, she
She
basically
like AOL chats them and then has them do it. Yeah, it was fucking terrible.
just like her
Ridiculous.
character in general. Like she's telling Tony she hates her mom, and then she comes back and cries and she dies. Like it was the worst thing ever. Like she's a total piece of
Tries
shit.
to make everybody talk at the thing, and they're like, "We fucking hate this woman. What's wrong with you?"
Which is kind of funny because in the end, she actually turns into Livia. That's what she's turning into.
And I think
Right.
she's a combination of Livia and Johnny Soprano. Like she's a tough broad, and then she's
She lets
then
Richie
she's like a
Aprile hold a
manipulated-
gun to her fucking
manipulative
head
crazy
while they
person.
have sex.
It's not loaded.
You know what though? She does whack him out when he goes too far. He goes too far with her. She takes it into her own hands. She don't need her big brother to clean up that mess. She goes in there and gets it herself. Yup, you said I hate her so much. I was thinking I hate her so much that I fucking loved her character so much. I couldn't wait for her to be on the screen because she was going to do some shit that was absolutely. She was going to steal a leg if she needed to, so she could keep her fucking records. I mean, like anything you could think
oh
of.
my God, that's
Any
one
possible
of the
thing to
best-
think of, this bitch was going to do that. It was I loved her so much because of that. Because she was just ruthless every step of the way.
Just even like there's scenes when she goes to the house after Meadow has that party, and the music she's listening to is like she's like shit like that. Like she manipulates Meadow, and then she gets pissed off because they threw up all over the house. She's like, "When are you gonna punish that kid?" After she told him not to punish him,
right?
She's like you're totally right, Beef. Like I hate her so much that I love the character. I just like Ida Tutorial played her perfectly,
and
like,
she's great in Deep Blue Sea as well.
Yes, she's also in Sleepers. She plays the lady who drinks too much wine, and I couldn't identify.
Wilkinson Home for Boys.
Yeah,
Sleepers?
okay, I remember that.
You know, I had to get that in there, Swole, for you.
That's why Yum's my partner.
She beats the shit out of the lady at the soccer match. That was one of my favorite ones.
They show her running away.
Running away from the cops. But they don't already got her.
What a great episode.
Oh man.
Okay, Svo. Last pick around 3.
All right. I'm gonna get my character that's not connected out of the way, and it's probably my favorite storyline in the whole show. But I'm going to take the Terminator himself, Robert Patrick, or we call him David Scatino.
Yes.
Great it's choice. My favorite storyline in the whole show. You know, he's got to sell the SUV to Tony to cover his debts, and it leads to a whole thing with Meadow and the airline tickets, the coolers. Richie's like, "Fuck that! I want them blue." Or does he say red? Does
red.
he want red?
Forget what it is.
I want them red. We're not gonna pay him anyways. David Scatino's character, like, such a good storyline.
And so helpless. Like Tony just takes total advantage of him.
And he was like, "You knew this was going to happen." He's like, "It's kind of what I do, man."
It's my business. He says he tells him, "This is my business." I love that episode as well, because I like when they dig a little deeper into the actual enterprises of what the organized crime is doing. And so this one was just a deep dive and a total bust out, right? It was just like, he knew he could trap this guy and get him under his thumb because he knew he had that store and he knew they were going to vulture the shit out of it. So if things went wrong, he was going to get all of that. He was going to get his hands on absolutely everything. And to watch them do it, like in the whole show, was interesting to me because you don't always get to see all of that stuff in these things.
And the fucking poker game where Richie discovers him, he's like, "You got some balls, man." Like, and he's like it just turns into a whole thing and everybody leaves and it just so fucking good. I just got to the part of my rewatch where Richie Aprile shows up for the first time and I know it's coming and I'm excited. Like, I know it's coming.
That's right. Love it.
So let's talk real quick. I want to talk about those poker games. Isn't it amazing that they were able to get Frank Sinatra Jr. to do those scenes? Like Frank Sinatra Jr. just laying into like, yeah, my dad was part of organized crime. Like,
what is that?
Not only that, but there's other poker scenes later on in the show with fucking Lawrence Taylor and David Lee Roth.
Yep.
Like, it's so good.
It's so
good. It's hilarious. Like the whole poker scene with David Scatino is pretty funny too. Like even the beginning, him and Artie are playing. Artie's beating the shit out of him at poker. I gotta go home. Charmaine will kill me. But like Scatino is such a you feel sorry for him, and but he's a piece of shit person. Like he
He's
really
a
is.
terrible person.
Then he comes back later and he's a cowboy.
Himself.
Yeah.
He couldn't even hang himself over the pool table right. Like
He
he's
did.
that much of a fuck up. He was like,
no, go ahead, Swell.
fixing the light. It glares off the 8-ball when I shoot.
He one of my favorite parts about him, the beef when you're saying, is when he comes, like Tony's scared he's gonna get discovered for this murder, and he comes out, he's like, I told you it's gonna start. They're putting a lien on me. He's screaming, and Tony's like, go back in your fucking hole. He like runs away.
He's sleeping in a tent with like fucking pizza boxes and dirty clothes. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but Tony's like, Davey, I'm sorry, you're doing a great job.
Yeah, he apologizes still real quick. Yeah, I mean, it's such an awakening when like they're friends, like their kids go to high school, and then he doesn't pay enough of the money when he goes to the sporting goods store, and he beats the ever loving shit out of him. And it's like, part of me wasn't expecting, because you're like, well, he'll play nice because this is a dad of one of Meadows' classmates. No, he will not. This is his fucking business. He ain't playing nice. He's gonna get this money. Exactly.
Right. Yeah, Tony doesn't give a shit.
And he's like, I just had some bad luck. He's like, it's not getting better, and he smacks the shit out of him.
Okay, Svo, let's go next one.
All right. Well, I think I gotta go Guma and get that out of the way, and I'm gonna go with the Guma that Tony wouldn't fuck till he realized that he realized she didn't fuck Ralphie. He wouldn't have sex with Valentina until he realized that she didn't fuck Ralphie. So I'm going Valentina La Paz, and I know Alexis was giving me shit. You better not draft her, but that's a good pick. That's a good pick because she was a catalyst for a bunch of things.
Agreed. And she falls into the category of like woman who has a career together and is kind of self-made, and Tony really likes that. And then also the fact that Tony is vulturing a woman from another one of his guys, which he routinely does. And you're right. So he says that, but it's only after he fucked her the first time. Like after, he already fucked her. He just wouldn't fuck her a second time. Is it's complicated my business.
And
I can't,
He went to go get sex advice from his fucking sister. He's like, so what was it like fucking Ralphie?
Exactly. Absolutely.
What did she say? He tops from the bottom or whatever.
Yeah, that's just
Top.
Oh my God.
Bottoms from the top. That's what it is.
And then Tony, of course, breaks up with her in the best possible way. Her face is burnt to shit in the hospital, and he's just like, you know what, this isn't working out.
Yeah, I'll get back my wife.
Bills, but I think this has run its course.
Yeah, and then she's like, I'm gonna kill myself. He's like, you're gonna be fine.
Exactly.
Yeah. Also, Valentina is like really, really attractive. But yeah, totally.
Yeah,
and then,
she is.
they had her like do basically like pranks on. She did put Ralphie in the horse shit, and then Tony with the salt.
The salt shaker at breakfast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good pick there, Swell.
That is
Yeah,
a
I like that
perfect
one,
one.
too.
Yeah, she's a good one. I'm gonna go. I was thinking about doing my episode now, but I think this one's gonna sit around. I got a couple that I really like, so I'm gonna go with my wild card. And we were just talking about him, and I'm gonna go Richie Aprile.
I love it. Love Richie.
Like, it's veal parmesan sandwich. Fuck you.
Every time my old man comes over, and he's gonna watch this tomorrow. He promised me because he loves the Sopranos, but he's got to work at like 4 a.m. So like every time he comes over, and I take like I take his jacket or whatever. He's like, the jacket.
The jacket.
The jacket.
I made that meme for you, Beef, with Greasy. The jacket.
I love it. It's so funny leading up to it too, because he's such a pain in the ass to Tony. They're bickering all the time. He's like, this is his fucking peace offering. He's going to give this to Tony. This was like a big deal when they were kids. And then he comes over another time to drop off some tripe. And then the cleaning lady's husband's wearing the jacket.
The pull-out cleaning lady's husband has it.
Yes.
Yeah, and then he
The look on his face was priceless.
He didn't know what to do. He just had to leave.
Tony gives him the biggest insult with, don't look at me with those Manson lamps. His eyes.
Like his son is like a ballroom dancer, like just like really weird stuff about that guy. Yeah, just all the shit he did to Beansy is the best though.
Totally.
Oh my
Like,
god, he was fucking relentless with that.
He's
Oh
a-
my
The
goodness.
fucking dialogue that he had with Christopher, he's like, if you're gonna put my hands on my niece, you give her your last name. Like he gave him permission to beat
As
the
he-
shit out of his niece as
as
long
he
as they were
met
married.
him, that was when he met him too. It wasn't like
First time.
pulling him aside. It was like shake your hand, like hi, I'm Richie April, and then he fucking says that.
yeah, and he actually sets up Jackie Jr. to go down the downward spiral by having him hang around. Because remember, he used to always say, "My uncle Richie was going to do this," and then it became my father. So
Yeah.
And there's a scene where they're talking about the garbage routes, and it's Tony and it's Jackie Jr. holding the umbrella over Richie, and he's like, "See, kid, he just told you to go fuck yourself, and we're just supposed to take it."
And that guy's fantastic in UHF as one of the hoods that kidnapped Stanley Spadowski. So
David Polo.
there's another guy that's totally typecast. Whenever you see him in anything, he's
Yeah, he's in
always
Shawshank too.
like
He's one of the prisoners.
He is,
like
yes.
yeah, he is. You're right. He's like either a goon or again a prisoner or in the mob. Like,
Yeah, he's a-
everything you ever see with him.
He's got a brief appearance as a pilot in the Monster Squad.
Oh shit.
He does.
does.
By Dracula. Oh
Holy
my God,
shit.
Nam. Oh my God, Nam, I love you for that. I'm sorry. You can keep calling me fat if you want.
Mark that down. He admitted in front of everybody that he loves me.
I'll make sure to clip that out and put it on.
Good
I
idea.
really
bro.
went out on a limb there because nobody knows how I feel about you, buddy.
I still hate your guts.
I know.
Oh man.
Sure, Jan.
Oh man. Well, Marge, I don't know. I have two people I want to go for my wild card, and one of them is hilarious. They're both pretty hilarious. One of them's a crucial member that I'll just, I'm gonna go with Big Pussy Bompacero as my wild card.
Nice.
Reason being, he was such a crucial member of the first two seasons. Tony's, but like in the beginning, you kind of thought that he was higher ranked than Tony, the way he was talked about, and he turned out to him and Tony were like best friends. Tony goes to him for advice. He basically has the car shop that Tony puts his cuts his cars through. And in the end, he ends up being a rat. But like he had some great dialogue. He was mentoring Christopher through the hit with the Czechoslovakian. He actually kills the Balakwa kid with Tony to try to save face with him.
Yep.
He's just a complex character. But my favorite thing is when he tries to go work for the FBI and he's like, "This is the fat man." He's going after some Pokemon cards.
Then he kills the Elvis impersonator.
Oh yeah, kills him with a hammer.
Because the guy saw him, right?
Yeah, he
Hey, pussy, how you doing, baby?
another guy from Goodfellas. He's in the beginning when he's pushing the carts.
Yep.
Yeah, they got the winter coats, right? The fur coats. Yeah, that's right.
Pussy is one of my favorite lines in the show. What pussy? My pussy? Get the fuck out of here.
Pussy Malanga?
It's a shame too. He was such a good character. It was a shame that he got killed off before they started making like gigantic money. Like that, like the guy really missed out on a payday for being such a good character on the show.
He still does stuff though on the side still. Like,
Yeah.
He does like tours and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that because I was actually listening to Talking Sopranos when he was on there, Victor Pastore, and he said when he went back to do like the dream sequences and whatnot, the casting agent, which is Georgina Walker's Christopher Walken's wife, told him, he's like, "I don't know how much I should ask," and she said, "Ask for as much as you want because you built this, and unfortunately you weren't here when everything happened. You deserve all of it."
Yeah.
So he said he
that's
really
cool.
appreciated that, and he goes, "They always took care of him when he went back to kind of make up for him not making that big money when the show became so popular."
Yeah, it's kind of brutal.
Great character, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Good pick.
Okay, let's go round 4, pick 4. What do you got now?
All right. So I'm going to go with my episode here. I'm going to go with, I believe, season 4, episode 7, Watching Too Much Television. This is the one with the HUD project or whatever, when he brings AJ to the projects and the drug dealers come over and I forget what she says to Tony, but he goes, "Oh, you blow your father with that mouth?"
And AJ's like, "What?"
Is that a real crack hole?
Yeah.
Oh, so that's a crack hoe.
Yeah.
but that's the episode where he's driving by and he's crying and they're showing him vulnerable, and he's listening to the Shy Lights. Fucking great song, great choice. And he's cruising and he's crying and he pulls up at the house and he sees that she's banging Zellman again. And he goes in and he beats the shit out of him. And then he tells him to cry like a
with
bitch.
the belt.
Even though he was just crying, he's telling him to cry like a bitch. And then he walks out and gives her the little pat on the cheek and just walks out. I was like, that is such a power move because 5 minutes earlier, you were sitting there crying in your car by yourself. And I'm just like, then you go in and you turn it off and bam, you just beat the shit out of the guy. And then, like, she loved seeing that. I know she loved seeing that. But
She left him after that. She was like, I can't be with this fucking pussy.
Yeah.
I'm leaving. That's a good fucking pick, Nom.
Yeah, that's a great episode. I totally agree. I know when you were going down the path, I'm like, here it comes. He takes his belt off. And he's like, Tony, calm. He's like, Tony, calm down. Tony's like, I'm perfectly calm. I just starts whipping the shit out of him.
Right, Alexis. That's what he tells him.
yes, that's a great
Yeah, and she ends up, she gets mad because when Tony bangs her cousin,
Yeah.
she calls Carmela and tells about the affair. It sets off the whole thing about them.
Yeah, Svetlana. That's the one-legged cousin. I was thinking about this before the show. I was trying to think which one of you four guys are most likely to fuck a woman with only one leg. I think it's probably Nam, but Svo, it might be you. I'm not sure. I wasn't 100%. I'll let the other guys weigh in if they want to. I'm not forcing you to choose, but I think it's probably Nam.
One leg, two legs, no legs. I don't care.
While you were saying that,
I don't
in my head, I
discriminate.
was thinking it's probably me.
You made me feel better about my choice. I appreciate that now.
As long as she's still a little chubby, I don't care how many legs she has, man. Like,
Hey, Beef.
Well, predicted all this.
Can you play that again? I missed that.
I missed it too.
You know, Quasimodo predicted all this.
I prefer the eye patch.
Ridiculous.
Oh man.
Perfect.
Stefana was like a badass too, though. She told Janice, "You beat." She's about to whoop Janice's ass. She didn't give a fuck.
Yeah, Svetlana's a tough broad.
And then
sure.
it fucking turned into a Christmas present when Tony had the Russians fucked up that fucked with Janice. It was like his Christmas present to her.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was underneath the reindeer or something.
Yeah, him and Furio are fake drunk in the car.
Yes.
Yeah, drunk. Great. That one's great.
Yeah. That's a great
Okay.
episode to pick now.
That's a
Yeah,
good
that's an
one.
excellent choice.
All right, Beef. So what do you got left? You got
All right. I've got episode and wild card, so I'm gonna go episode first. So this episode I'm picking mainly because it has the best 4 minutes of Sopranos for my money, with action and hilarity out of the entire series. So I'm picking it for a subset of the actual episode. And so the episode's called The Strong Silent Type. It's season 4, episode 10. But the 4 to 5 minutes that I want to isolate is Christopher's intervention, which is some of the funniest shit possible on any show ever. The banter back and forth, and then the fact that they beat the shit out of him before his
In the middle of
intervention is
an
even complete. Exactly. It's amazing. They start talking about the dog, like Cosette, and we talked about earlier, like he sits on the dog. And in the kind of a throwaway line in the background, you hear Paulie Walnut say, "What was it, barking?" Like that would be a good reason to kill the dog. Like barking too much. Oh yeah, that's a good reason to kill that dog.
It looked like Tony wasn't pissed off or anything, and then they mentioned the dog, and Tony got fucking pissed. So like Tony and his
bringing it
fucking
up.
animals again.
I know.
My
Christopher calls
favorite
his mom
part
a
too
whore.
is the guy who runs the intervention is the guy who played Casey Jones in the first Ninja Turtles
Elias
movie.
Costas.
Yeah.
Elias
Yeah.
Cotes, yeah.
The
Jose
best part-
Canseco bat?
Yeah, best part is when he's trying to tell them about intervention and whatnot. He tells Tony and Paulie, you're bound to relapse. I relapse. He's like, so you're a 2-time loser.
Exactly.
That whole
Yeah, I like
intervention
what-
scene beef is awesome.
It's perfect.
It's one of the clips that I go back on YouTube and watch all the time. And it's like, all right, I'm going to cue it up right now. I just need to check this out and laugh my ass off.
Yeah,
at
I mean,
it,
I think
so.
we've already referenced it like 3 times in the episode because when Silvio got drafted, I mentioned the whole like hair was in the toilet water.
Disgusting. and Paulie's thing is, I don't write nothing down. You're weak, you're out of control, and you're an embarrassment to yourself and all the rest of us. Like
That's not how this works.
so memeable. Yeah, exactly. has nothing to do with the intervention. It's just like, fuck you, Christopher. No, let him take his medicine. It's ridiculous. All right, so for my wild card, I decided that I wanted to pick my favorite scam that they pulled off. And so we already talked about one of my favorite scams, so I'm going to leave that one out. We talked about the Scatino bust out. I love that. Thought that episode was great, and I thought the whole idea behind it was great. So I'm going to pick my other favorite scam that they did, and that was the HUD housing scam. So it connects to the episode that Nam was talking about with Zellman, because Zellman was intimately involved. And it's literally just them out to breakfast with Brian, Carmela's cousin, and he floats this, what he thought was an urban legend to these guys. And then, of course, these enterprising young fellas go out there and go do it. And they get themselves a front man, and they got the doctor in on it with the buying the homes, and they got the nonprofit guy scooping in there. And it turns into a big thing with New York, kind of as its own storyline eventually. But I love the concept of them, like, just totally enterprising and getting free government money for something. Like, they're normally preying on the average Joe on the street. This one they did a little higher level and preyed on the average Joe right through the tax system.
Well, and I think that's such a good pick, Beef, because it also shows that Tony was willing to get anybody fucking involved. Like, Brian was a nobody. Yeah, Brian was just Carmela's like investment cousin that wasn't connected at all. And he's like, he gets him a fucking Rolex at the end. He's like, all I did was bring it up. He's like, trust me, you earned it.
Exactly.
Such a good episode.
It is. It was
a great episode.
One of the best.
Such a shitless scam too, heartless scam.
I know, just top to bottom piece of shit doing it, and from every angle there. And and it goes down the line, and New York finds out about it, and they want to do it. I mean, they beat the shit out of the appraiser. Like, just an appraiser's like phony baloney appraisal. Who cares? Like, whatever. That guy gets his fucking ass kicked multiple times.
Well, not just that.
So many different levels. They ripped the house apart for all the copper. They're like, "You want that to come out of your end?" And he's like, "No, I'll take care of it."
Not just that though. Like the African American guy, he was in a gang, like a gang youth health group. Like he helps them out,
right.
And they tell him basically, you work with the gangs, get them to get out the crackheads out of there. So he fucking sends the kids in there to do more work for him. Yeah. And then the main drug dealer shoots himself. They laugh at him.
Yes. That's such a scene, man. That's a fucked up scene.
It's crazy.
I'm sure that scam was actually used many times over the years, but
I bet. Yeah, I bet it was.
I'm sure. All kinds of HUD stuff that goes on all the time. All right, Nam, what do you still have left?
I believe I'm on my not connected.
Not connected. Okay.
So I'm going to go ahead and lose the draft with this pick, but my not connected favorite character is Pyomai.
Yes.
The beautiful horse.
Beautiful.
It's on the painting right behind me. And even though it's a not connected character, I feel like it really had a huge effect on the relationship between Tony and Ralph, and absolutely caused all of that problem. And it's just a horse.
I think that's great.
The real life Pyomai, whose name escapes me right now, follows me on Twitter.
Now they know the real reason.
But they don't follow Beef. But he doesn't follow Beefloaf, right?
No. I'm not a horse guy. I'm out on horses.
Beef still has Bobby follows him. Bobby Bacala, right?
Yeah, Steve Shrippa does follow me on Twitter. That's like the biggest star that follows me. It's pretty awesome.
That's awesome.
Alexis, did he just draft a horse?
Yes, he did. It's a character.
Yes, I did.
No, should we debate whether or not Pyomai was connected?
No.
All right, fine.
That's
Tony.
That's actually a fair point. But
what,
this is where I tell you go fuck yourself.
Pyomai had a front owner. I mean, what the fuck?
He was the front.
Yeah, I mean, and the owner of Pyomai was a front. Because it was, remember when Pyomai won, it was someone else that took the picture. It wasn't
like
Ralphie.
Was it Ralphie's cleaning lady or something?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you won the race. Here, get up here for this picture. Like, I think we'll allow it, but I think it is questionable. I think we could debate it. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
He was a pawn. A pawn.
favorite pawn. That's the new category.
Right?
That's right.
Oh boy.
Oh man. So for mine, actually, I was surprised these 2 episodes weren't taken because it's a tough one. But I'm gonna go back. So piggybacking off my pick, I'm gonna go with Funhouse as a
What I was gonna take. You did
episode.
You've done that twice to me, man.
Yeah, fuck you. No,
Yes.
but yeah, just that episode. Like I said, Vincent Pastor's character of Pussy was like so big, and then you see what he's going through in terms of talking to the FBI. Like, and it all comes to the head at the end with Tony having food poisoning and having a fish fucking talk to him in a dream, to where he realizes he has to go check him out. And then when he finds the bug in the cigar case, you could tell it broke his heart, but he had to do what he had to do. And Sill's not happy with it either. He goes on top of the boat, because they're killing one of their own. All he took his fucking chain, though, which is hilarious. I thought that was funny.
Like the background of
You're a
like all the
scumbag.
food poisoning and all that stuff. Like it was just a beautifully made, like visually awesome episode. Just really, really well put together.
You know what? Fuck Teresi. Fuck him for saying that. How dare he say that about me? Son of a bitch. The only thing that always turns me off about Funhouse, and I feel free to throw tomatoes at me, guys. The dream sequences in the show, sometimes I just didn't, I wasn't that in on. I just like, this is just too weird for me. I don't get it. Maybe I'm a simpleton.
Artsy. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of a simpleton. I can't stay with it,
I felt that way
literal.
when I first watched. Like I felt that way when I first watched it, but then as I got older and I rewatched it every year, like the dream sequences, like they mean a little bit more. And when it first came on, I hated it. But the Kevin Finnerty story arc, like I despised it. I just wanted Tony back, but it makes so much sense now, and it was done really, really well.
Yeah, that actually was the one I was looking at too. So was on my picks for drafts was that episode. Like I think I told you this before. Like when my original degrees in psychology, so I always the mind is always something I was very interested in, and I think he knocks it out of the ballpark with certain of the dream sequences. Not so much in Funhouse, but in that episode where Tony's basically trying to find his identity, and you see Tony Bludetto as the guy who tries to walk him into the house basically to death. Your family's waiting for you in there, and he tries to give away his briefcase. Oh, that you gotta leave those things behind. You gotta forget the past. Like, I like his messages that David Chase put in there. I think they were done very well. Sometimes they're confusing, but I thought that overall they were done very well.
Good stuff. Yeah. And then the part where no, I guess that's maybe later in the season when he gets the singing fish at the end.
Yeah.
But it ties into that episode, you know what I mean? Like when he sees it, he fucking kind of freaks out.
It makes him throw it away.
Right.
Well, and
then it just keeps showing up again. You know what I mean?
On the boat, he looks at everybody. He goes, "We got any good tequila?" And then he starts talking about like in explicit detail about the girls in Puerto Rico, and they're like, "Did they ever really exist?" And it was really fucking good, really good, good pick.
Not just that, like the Rolling Stones song at the end of the episode, that with the whole montage of Tony lighting up the cigarette at Meadows' graduation, that's awesome. Like it's just a perfectly ended episode for Funhouse.
I gotta. I'm gonna start my annual watch. I think this week. Okay, I'm gonna go. I gotta go episode. You stole my episode.
Will be the fucking game.
So Beef, I gotta give you credit, man. Furio, that was a great character.
I wore my ponytail. I forgot where I was at. I wore my ponytail like down so that I would look like Furio, and no one said anything.
I'm sure we'll briefly discuss him when we're done with the draft here. I'm gonna go with underrated episode, and we talked about it for a second, but I love the episode is called D Girl, and it's the one where Christopher's hanging out with Jon Favreau, and just like the dial, Fukiak. Well, like they're in the pizza parlor. And he's like, "Oh my god, that thing is still alive!" And he's telling these just absolutely disgusting stories to Jon Favreau, and then Jon Favreau's just like stealing everything. You know what I mean? Like, it was just, and he's just a little too much for Jon Favreau. Like Jon Favreau just couldn't, like, I I don't want to get hurt. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, he scares him when he goes up to the hotel room and they're hanging out. Like he gets a little too like, oh my god, this guy really is a wise guy. I don't want to get too close to him.
Yeah,
also, Christopher's banging his fucking cousin's girlfriend.
Yeah,
fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, so that one and then like he goes on the movie set, like Janine Garofalo and
You got any more words for me to say?
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, that whole episode was fun. It's not my one, my one obviously, but yeah, it's a good one. It's fun. It's silly. It's got really good dialogue in it.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good episode. It's one I go back to when I'm randomly picking. I'll randomly pick that one and go feast on it. So I love it.
Yeah, it's a good episode. It's hilarity in that one too. Just the whole Favreau interaction, how nervous Christopher makes him. It's good.
Yeah, John Favreau knows how to play someone who's like super awkward, like nervous and awkward.
He tells him, I don't know if you can play Joey Gallo. Maybe Vince Vaughn, that guy, maybe, but I don't know about you.
True story. I met John Favreau and Vince Vaughn. So after Swingers, me and my friends loved Swingers when it came out. We were like kind of the right age we went and saw it a bunch of times at the theater, all this stuff. So they made the follow-up, and it was a movie called Made, which I don't think a lot of people saw. Wasn't even that great of a movie, but they were doing like a kind of a radio giveaway, and one of my buddies won a chance to go to the meet and greet. Like 20 people or whatever, some radio station. We went to Piper's Alley. He calls me. I'm calling from work. He's like, hey, get to Piper's Alley in 15 minutes. We're going to go to this fucking meet and greet. And we got to meet both of them. And Favreau was a sweetheart. He talked to fucking everybody. He's bullshitting with everyone. Vince Vaughn was drugged out of his fucking skull. And Vince Vaughn's tall. He's got to be 6'4" or something like that. He's tall, definitely taller than me. And he had he came out of this room in the back. He thought, oh man, maybe Vince Vaughn wasn't coming back. He comes back and he had the tiniest fucking little thing of popcorn that he was eating. And he was just like, he was barely talking to anyone, but he's just like standing around eating popcorn in front of everybody. It was fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, I know a bunch of people that met Vince Vaughn at casino in Indiana. I forget what's the name. I can't think of it off the top of my head.
The Horseshoe?
Horseshoe. Yeah, he was there and they happened to be playing poker and like he went behind one of my friends, was like rubbing his shoulders, like, oh, you're gonna make a good play right now. They said he was awesome. He bought him drinks and everything. They said he was a real nice guy.
Oh, nice.
That's funny because I had the exact opposite experience with Vince Vaughn, but that's for another episode.
All right, Svo, we got our last pick here.
All right, so I don't even know like what we're gonna put this under. I guess we're gonna call it characters. And it's kind of they're kind of partners. Actually, we're just gonna call it a moment. But there's a moment when these two characters are just chilling at their house. Matthew Bevilacqua and Sean Gismonte are chilling at the house, and Furio comes banging on the door, and these dudes are hanging out in their underwear, just listening to music, talking about what they're gonna do. And the song has stuck with me up in the club ever since I first saw it, and it's one of my favorite moments in the show. They're just two dudes sitting around in their underwear watching music videos, and it's fucking hilarious. And I laugh every single time it comes to that point. Matthew Bevilacqua's story and character in the show is tragic and fantastic because you know what happened to Lillian Brancato in real life, but it's so fucking good.
But even like when he's smoking a bong, and then when somebody's big guy, he tries to put underwear over the bong. Like it's gonna hide it.
Yeah, in the club.
Because he's like, you give me $1,000.
Yes.
And then that guy says, "Have a nice day."
Well, I can't remember if it's when they're walking in or when they're walking out. Furio tells the other guy in Italian, these guys suck each other's cocks.
Yeah, it's when they look at the underwear. From there, yeah. He's like, and then Matthew Bevilacqua's like, "What'd you say?"
It's a crazy scene.
Yeah. And in fact, he's like, it's that Zip Ferio. He's like banging the shit out of that door. He's like, well, let him in before he breaks the fucking
you
door
just see
down.
the fisheye lens. Like, never look at the people.
Good pick, Swat.
Fucking great moment. Yeah, great pick and great way to bring it in to explain it. It's so funny.
Okay.
Oh, man.
So let's do our dump now here. Beef Any wise guys that we didn't talk about?
Yeah, so the only two wise guys I got left on my short list here were Johnny Sacrimoni and Phil Leotardo. So I love the New York side of the stories, and I love Johnny Sack. He was one of my favorites. Phil Leotardo was my favorite, like, antagonist kind of later on. He was such a prick. You know, he comes back on the scene, and the first thing he does is he's got a telephone book on Lorraine, and he's shooting through it. You know, like, that's like one of the initial scenes when he comes back out of jail that you see him. So those are the two wise guys that I got left.
20 fucking years, Beef.
Grilled cheese off the radiator. All right.
His death is the best, and he gets run over by the car with, like, his grandkids are in the back seat. Like, it's
I sent you that gift, and that guy's like, "Oh shit." Yeah, he was one of, like, the biggest assholes in the thing. And it's a constant joke between Sopranos fans about the 20 years.
And I sent it to you guys in the chat earlier. He's like, "You look like a fucking Puerto Rican whore. I'm disgusted by you."
There's no eating in the car.
Yeah, but he was eating the fucking
ice cream, and he throws out the window. Maybe ever since then, there's no eating in the car.
There's no eating in the car, yeah.
And, like, the thing with the seat in the car is never
it's on a tilt.
Yeah.
It's a skew.
And
Joey gets in it.
It's
Joey.
a skew, yeah.
The way Joey Peeps gets in it's pretty hilarious too.
Joey Peeps. All right, Nam, do you have any wise guys that we forgot?
I had Bobby on the list. I don't think he got picked.
Mm-hmm.
Bobby, gotta add Bobby. Like, at first
He's
he
so
wasn't
good.
like much of anything, but as he evolved, like, he was such a likable character, and just like the stories you hear, like on the Talking Sopranos when they talked about when he comes in, he had the big dildo or whatever.
That was the Pine Barrens episode when he had the orange hunting coat on, right? When he had the big dildo.
He looked like fucking Elmer Fudd.
Laugh or whatever.
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy how everybody's like, "Oh, Bobby was such a nice guy," like, and that's why everybody, kind of felt bad for him. But in reality, Bobby was a fucking piece of shit too. Like,
They all were.
killed people and
Yeah.
destroyed them, and, like, he's a bad dude too. But just because he kind of showed he was a little bit more human than the other ones, everybody, like, gravitated towards him.
Well, they didn't show a lot of his work. Only in that one episode where Janice is like, "Oh, you got to get out and do this thing." He goes into a bar and strong arms a fucking guy for a vote in a union thing. Like, that was his thing, right? He's pushing on this guy to make sure this guy votes a different way than he wants to, like, for your well-being sort of shit. Like, so you see a little bit of it. They don't show a lot of it because they make him like, Junior's handler for most of it.
Well, even when he goes to collect from the guy with the asbestos, he goes, "Don't put that shit in the envelope." Like, to tell you, I don't want, like, you can't show he doesn't give a fuck about, you don't give a shit about, like, the people. Just put the money in the envelope. I don't want to get that shit.
That's right.
Honestly, of all the deaths in that show, that one killed me the most.
Yeah.
When he got blown away in the hobby shop.
Blue Comet, buying the Blue Comet.
On the Blue yeah. But yeah,
I would probably have passed on buying a toy train if everybody around me was getting killed, though. So I don't know why he was out doing that, but.
Treasy, non-train guy. How dare Treasy's just jealous that Steve Shribba follows me on Twitter. Fuck you, Treasy.
Oh man, Treasy, I don't know.
Yumper, did you have anybody that would get picked? Do it again, please.
Quasimodo predicted all this.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite lines of when they're sitting there. He's like, "Quasimodo, the freaking hunchback of Notre Dame." I have a couple for wise guys. Tony Bludetto, played by Steve Buscemi. I loved him. I wish he would have stood around a little longer.
Yeah.
Boy, are you fat.
Yeah, his complete asshole when they're playing cards. He tells Vito, those aren't candy bars. You can give us one of them, You hand them out. Like, he's a complete asshole, but totally smart and had balls to, like, take people out.
Yeah,
like
he was a mean motherfucker.
Totally.
Sure.
Patsy was another one that I thought was done well. You kind of see how I still think he's the one that kills Tony at the end, due to not just for killing his brother, but because he's scared that Tony's going to kill him because Carlo and his kid got pinched. But he plays two characters. He plays Patsy and Philly. That gets his brains blown out. But total asshole. There's parts that are funny. when Tony comes up to him and smacks the shit out of him for getting caught at the rally. That cracks me up. Like, those are two characters I thought that were, you know.
And what about Patsy comes in, he's going to kill Tony when he's drunk when he has a gun, but he decides not to kill him. He just pisses in his pool.
Yeah. Joey Peeps is another one that that's a kind of a minor character, but it's pretty funny. Like I said, when he does a thing with Phil in the car, cracked me up. And then Tony Blue Devil ends up taking him out.
And just the gravestone. Peeps?
Yeah, Peeps. And then Sylvia's like, fucking Jason, he's dyslexic.
Let's do it.
So yeah, we didn't really. I mean, we talked about Furio a few times, but that was on my list. I probably would have taken him as a wild card if Richie April weren't there in round 4. Just the scene where he shakes down the massage parlor. Oh my God. He's like, Scoozy, and he punches her in the face, and you're just like, oh my God, like, this guy's a fucking monster. He's like shooting people in the knees.
Yeah, he actually said that, I forget his Federico, I can't say his last name, but he actually said that was the scene he auditioned with. And the Italian he speaks at the end, he added that in his audition, and David Chase asked him where he was from, and he's like, I think he's from Queens. He's like, okay, and they add that in just for him to say it because David Chase liked it so much. And he's also he does a great accent, and then when you hear him talk for real, he sounds like a normal dude.
But he's, in my opinion, he's like shockingly violent. Like they go to Italy, they meet him, and he seems like he's kind of holding it down for the leader. He's like almost like the second in command, basically covering up for the leadership and
he's like
doing a lot of the talking. Yeah, he's kind of like he's the go-between or whatever, and he's like real well kept and all that stuff. When he comes to the U.S., he's the violentest motherfucker you could possibly find, kicking the shit out of everyone. And then the fact that he's can't stop his lust for Carmela, and just making it so obvious. I mean, the scene where they're leaving the casino and they're getting the helicopter, like, that was a crazy scene. Like, you were like, wait, is this going to happen? Like, is he really going to push Tony into this thing? Like, it was wild.
You kind of get shades of that, though, Beef. When they're in Italy, he beats the shit out of that kid for firecrackers.
That's true. They do have that one scene where they're extra violent, and Tony's like kind of surprised that it's just a kid. Like, what the fuck,
What the fuck, Vince?
we talked about that in our group thread, or no, we talked about it on one of the advertisements for the show.
Yeah, that's
and then Svo, did we miss any wise guys?
I don't know if we missed any wise guys. I think, like, man, I'm looking at the draft board. Like, holy shit, is it such a fucking everyone from top to bottom has good picks.
Yeah.
Anybody can win this draft because everybody picked really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if there's any wise guys that we missed.
Okay. I still had Benny on my list, was the only one that was left, which is Vinny from Doogie Howser.
Doogie Howser, yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, I thought he was a nice addition to the later seasons. And then Svo, did you have any regular, just day-to-day characters that we forgot?
No, not day-to-day characters, but I do want to say, I don't know how you guys feel, but the moment that I got hooked on the show was the episode, a guy walks into a psychiatrist's office. It's season 2, episode 1, and it opens up with when I was 17. And it's a montage of what's going on in the world. And, Paulie's banging this stripper at the Bing, and Melfi's doing appointments out of her hotel, and it's just a very, very beautiful piece of TV, and it's what got me hooked, and that's what I want to end my note on.
Okay, good stuff.
Salvitro, man, Salvitro,
yes, yeah, Vitro's
I was gonna take
guy.
him.
And no Feach Lamana. With no Feach Lamana.
We didn't talk about Feach at all.
Loja.
Get the fuck out of here.
I mean, we talked about Zellman, as a everyday guy, but we didn't talk about Father Intentola. Like, he was
on my list. Yeah.
Yeah, early on, he was a big part of it.
What did you guys play Hide the Pope?
Yeah. Or even Eli, Melfi's Elliot, Melfi's psychiatrist.
Yeah.
He was
good.
I mean, there's so many small, like, that's what I love about the show. There's so many characters that you can just branch out.
Dr. Cusimano was freaking hilarious.
Coos. Package for me.
And then I had Beansy, obviously.
Yep.
Hesh. We didn't really talk about Hesh. Hesh is a
great
character.
Yeah.
Who was the gangster rapper? What was his name that like tried to sue Hesh?
I don't know.
No, I was gonna say Genuine.
That was a good fucking
Massive genius. Massive genius.
Massive genius.
Yeah.
And then we didn't talk about Georgie either. The guy that runs the works in the
Oh
Bing.
my goodness. Yeah.
That guy's fucking
Man.
great.
He took so much fucking abuse.
Right. He's digging up bodies under the fucking viaduct with Christopher, throwing up all over the place.
I'm gonna be sick.
Oh, it's gross. I thought that was an urban legend. His hair is still growing.
Yeah, he gets fucking hit with Ralphie with the mace, and then he gets Tony beats the shit out of him for using too much ice or wasting ice. Yeah, Georgie, poor guy.
Georgie. And then any Gumars that we didn't, wives or Gumars?
The Russian, well, we talking about Irina. We talked about her. She kind of played a pivotal role with
yeah, absolutely.
Starting off with the basic fucking with Tony, and then basically tries to kill herself. Yeah. And then actually
JFK's hat.
Another guy who is kind of a Gumar, but he's a guy, and it's David Strahm, who's Carmela's AJ's principal.
Oh yeah.
She falls in love with.
Yep.
Mr.
Good
Wexler.
call.
Yeah, it's basically,
He's
kind
really good in that.
Yeah, he gets scared off and realizes, that he was kind of helping AJ get past school. She ends up dumping her.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a great call.
One last one I had on my list, and she was only on one episode, but the episode with Fran Felstein is so hilarious with the old lady. That was Tony's. Yes. That was Tony's. Tony's little Gumar.
Oh my god, yeah.
It was Johnny's Gumar.
Yeah.
Johnny's. I mean, yeah.
And she wears the JFK hat. Oh my god, yeah. It's so creepy.
They met at the cemetery.
Yeah. And she wanted to get her money from the
racetrack.
Yeah.
And Hash is pissed. Hash doesn't like her, and he's like, who do you think's been filing tax returns for this fucking thing all these years? He's so pissed.
Yeah.
The only ones I had left were Svetlana, which we talked about, and then Angie Pompensero, because Big Pussy dies. She's like trying to shake Tony down for money, and eventually she becomes like one of the gangsters. She's running the fucking shop.
She's got money on the street.
Yeah, she's out there doing shit. It's kind of weird turn there.
Yeah, even Carmela becomes envious of her because she basically went down and came back up, and now she runs her own shit.
I think that's what kind of convinced Carmela to do the housing stuff.
I think you're right, Brian.
We talked a little bit about her with Ralphie, but also Rosalie Aprile too. Like she goes to Italy with Carmela, and she plays a big role in the show.
Yeah, Ro.
100%. Yep.
I mentioned her already, but I really like Silvio's wife. She wasn't in it a ton, but she always kind of seemed like the voice of reason among like the wives. Like she went after the priest when they had the person that talked about organized crime in at the church.
Yeah.
Yes, she's like, I'm pissed off, man. This is not right. Like,
I'm going to tell him off.
We give you a lot of fucking money, and you know. So I thought she was tough. She always, and I kind of feel like she should have been in the show a little more.
Yeah, the character I thought that should have been in the show a little more, just to show like how she kind of ended up normal, was Barbara, which is the other sister of Tony.
Oh yeah.
I know it's more focused heavy on Tony and Janice because there's good storyline there, but it would kind of been cool to show like she's the normal one of them. So I wish they would have showed her a little more. Jenny Kosumoto, like when she doesn't want to recommend Meadow to the fucking Carmela strong arms her with pie and like lasagna.
What's your daughter's name? Fielder?
Oh man. So we didn't talk about, so let's take a couple of minutes before we wrap up and talk about the family. Any memories, Meadow and AJ, that you guys want to mention before we wrap up?
With
just in general, just AJ and Meadow stuff. Because we really didn't. I thought we were going to talk about them throughout the conversation, but we really didn't. So
AJ
I think
is a terrible character.
What?
I can't. I mean,
he's a huge prick, but I mean,
he is. I get the AJ hatred, so I'm not disagreeing with Nam. But in the later episodes of the later seasons, once again, before it was a thing, they started talking about mental health and how AJ was depressed, and he tried to kill himself in the pool, and I thought that storyline with what was his girlfriend's name?
Blanca.
I thought that was a really good storyline, and Meadow had some great love interest too,
Jackie.
Finn was good, but also the black boyfriend that Tony was not very nice to.
Noah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in the end, he wasn't very nice to Meadow either. So that was the funny part.
Yeah, he was mad at her.
Yeah, he was a jerk.
Yeah, he kind of stepped away for superficial reasons.
With AJ and Meadow, I like the play they play, but like you said, AJ was you really thought he was a brat, but then so you hit on the head with the mental health aspect, and then even you see how much he cares about his dad when he tries to go kill Junior, but he can't go through with it. And Tony calls him an idiot, but then realizes he loves him because he says, "I can't leave him in there for what he did to you."
The one cringe moment was AJ at the Puerto Rican Independence Day parade, singing along with the music, and it was bad. It was not good.
My favorite AJ moments when him and Meadow covers for him when he goes to go drink at the hotel. Eyebrows. And Tony tells him
he gets his face glued to the floor.
When Tony sees him, he's like, "What's different about you?" He's like, "You have no eyebrows, Tony." And he's like, "What's up there with the weird sex stuff, gay poppers?" He's like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
It's garbage day. Take out the trash. I see some love for Jackie Jr. in the chat, and I think Jackie Jr. was a little bitch.
I do too.
Jackie Jr. was a little bitch.
Jackie was basically they even said it, my brother wanted so hard to be my dad, but he couldn't be it, and he pissed in the seat during the Jewel concert.
Yeah, that's right. When he was the driver, you remember that?
Yeah, he pissed in the seat.
Yeah, he wanted to be a tough guy like that, but he was too fucking stupid to do it.
He wasn't cut out for it.
He couldn't execute it. He wasn't tough enough, but he also wasn't smart enough either. He was too stupid to be in those roles. He just couldn't do it. Could not execute any of that.
Junior is lying when he's like, "Didn't he fucking almost drown in a puddle?"
And then he had to go shack up with Omar from The Wire.
Yeah.
He was a good Scrabble player, though.
He was a good Scrabble player.
Now, conversely, little Carmine was really stupid, but an excellent character, in my personal.
That's messed out. He has over 30 movies on his subspecies.
The way he built the dialogue for that character, or where they built the dialogue for that character, is tremendous.
His vernacular was insane.
Yeah,
I just loved it.
I almost asked if you guys would allow me to just draft the movie Cleaver as my episode.
You should. That should have been your wild card. That would have been a great one.
I picked up at the club. You could have drafted Cleaver.
That's another character that we missed. JT, the writer.
Yeah.
That's right.
He shook him down too. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Gambling.
This, like I said, this show has Terrence Winter and David Chase did a great job. That's why, Beef, I'm trying to get you to watch Boardwalk Empire, because Terrence Winter actually wrote most of it.
Oh, Beef, you haven't watched Boardwalk?
Yeah. I've only seen a few episodes of it. I only
got through the first season myself. So.
It starts off slow, but it picks up and it's good. And what's his name? He was in The Irishman. Don't say a word, Beef, about The Irishman. He played Capone in Boardwalk.
Stephen Graham.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yes. Okay. Yeah. No, he's terrific in the.
I was watching a couple of scenes, Beef, before we were doing this, because I always get pulled into that rabbit hole. But Michael Shannon's portrayal of Nelson Van Leet, you should it's awesome. His character is awesome throughout that show.
All right, I got to commit to this. I gotta do this. I got to sit down and do it.
I feel like you'll really like it.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing we have to decide before we log off here. So I have to split this. I always do a poll afterwards. I can't put 5 people in a poll, so I got to do 2 polls. Should we do Svo versus King Nam, and then the 3 of us?
I honestly, I don't care what you do. I think everybody won this draft. This was a fun episode.
I can't look. I look at it. I'm like nobody lost this one. So this has been.
This is like
this
one
is
of
a
the
strong one.
I could talk Sopranos all day.
I know
Like,
we could stretch this into like a 5-hour show if we
really
wanted
could.
to. We should do that for Noms.
And if there wasn't snow coming, we'd keep Nom longer.
Nom's already awake for tomorrow. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
He just ate breakfast. What the fuck?
So I got my cannolis waiting.
Attaboy.
Well, guys, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. I want to thank all of you for being on. Real quick, if you guys would each like to do some pluggy plugs. Beefloaf?
Sure, happy to plug. The 108 podcast is Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Central Time on YouTube. That's YouTube /from the 108. I also have a solo podcast that I do on Monday nights, 6 p.m. Central Time. It's called the Au Jus. It's more baseball centric than the 108 is. And then just go to fromthe108.com for blogs and videos and all kinds of bullshit. Thanks for having me on, Brian. Really love it.
Right on, dude. Thank you. Anytime you want to come on with any of these, please let me know. You guys partially one of the reasons I started a podcast is because I like watching you guys. I see all the fun you guys have every week. So, thank you.
I appreciate that compliment, Brian. Thank you.
No problem. All right, Yumper, Svo, what do you got for us?
Follow us at Yumper and Svo on Twitter. I'm at Little Yumper and Svo is at Doughboy Svo. This Sunday we actually got a show coming out with a battle of Steven Seagal versus Jean-Claude Van Damme, and we're gonna go through those movies and see which we have movies pairs, and we're gonna talk about which one, and we decide which one was the better one. And then February 18th at the Relish Room with the Chicago Sports Bums, we're doing a Chicago movie podcast at the Wiener Circle. And afterwards, we're going to the Berwyn Tap across the street for some drinks. So make sure you guys are there for that and hang out with us.
And I will be there, and I will buy you a drink if you show up.
Also, did anybody email message you for the 3-pack?
No one's RSVP'd. We got a little gift prize coming out. If you RSVP and you come out and hang out with us, and
for 3 people or more, right?
3 people or more. And if you need me, I'll be over here with no shirt on and watching a Muppet Christmas Carol.
Sweet. Can I RSVP? Like you guys are my other 2.
Absolutely.
Right on. But all right, again, thank you again for King Nom coming on. You can see King Nom at the ballpark all summer, right?
Yep. I'll be making my
for the
comeback.
Eagles.
I had a poor fuck off. See that? I was actually I wanted on record official prediction Sunday Niners 31, Eagles 20, hammer the Niners money line. It's as good as gold.
Quasimodo predicted all this.
Perfect. Yes.
Do you have like a giant lock with you, and you're like, this is my lock of the week?
Yeah.
Right on. Well, you can always follow this show at Getting Drafty Pod. I am on Twitter as at Magnificent Stan. We are on the YouTubes as well as Spotify, Apple Pods, everywhere. I also am doing bi-weekly wrestling shows on Playback, on my Playback channel. We're going to be watching wrestling, and also we came across last week the show Power Slap, where people just slap the shit out of each other. And we'll watch that until the government shuts it down for being too damn violent. You can also check out our fancy merch at on our Etsy site, etsy.com/The Tainted Glove. Buy some shirts, buy some sweatshirts, buy some fancy hats. So again, this is Brian.
Tank tops.
Stan. Tank tops. Oh yeah, tank top with Svo's face on it. Yeah, you got to buy that. But all right, guys, thank you very much again, and I'll be back in a couple of weeks with another episode. Take care.
Buddy, don't wait for me.
All right.